Hi there. So we're going to talk today about measurement and funnels. So generally how we measure performance of the website from a business kind of KPI perspective, and then look at some funnels and why we would want to set a funnel up, some funnel strategies, and what we're kind of looking for in those funnels to try and improve about how we get more people through our various stages of our website, whether that's checkout or form fills, or could be buying insurance. That's quite a complicated process. So if we know where those drop-offs are, then we can look at how we refine that kind of user experience. So I think everyone knows my name is Lee Woodman. I run a consultancy called Visit Digital. So we kind of specialize in the kind of digging into your business data, see if we can find some opportunities in there. So bit of an agenda, what we're going to look over. So the importance of measuring website performance and why it matters from a business perspective. So the key metrics to track, some tools and techniques for measuring, some common challenges and pitfalls. We see quite a lot of issues in setups and things like that. And then best practices and strategies for tracking and analyzing website funnels. Cool. So I suppose that the importance of measuring what's going on is kind of faceted. So ultimately, you want to try and find the source of truth about your business and how many visitors you got, how much money you made, how many lead forms you got filled in, etc. It's actually very difficult to get to a source of truth. If you're on a platform like Shopify, Shopify is really good for telling you I made this much money. But it's not very good at kind of attribution of where those sales came from. It's very difficult to navigate. Versus Google Analytics gives you some really good definition on kind of your traffic sources, but not necessarily the most reliable. It's very good at taking a sample of your traffic, and there's various reasons why people don't get tracked in Google Analytics. Like 20% of the internet, I think it may even be higher than that, uses ad blockers. So ad blockers are blocked by Google Analytics. They block Tag Manager, which can be used to deploy Google Analytics. So yeah, it's actually very difficult to get a source of truth. We try our best. And then, one of the other reasons is improve user experience. So if we can measure and understand interaction with our website, and we can see we have low engagement times, we can look to improve that. We can identify what popular pages and areas there are on the website, and based on maybe some user experience metrics like engagement, we can improve those pages. So to give you an example of that, this one, so popular pages, if you know how long somebody takes to read a blog post and it's quite top of the funnel, you might say, okay, well, we know it takes 2.5 minutes for them to read that article. When they do read it, you can interject things at, say, 1:30 seconds into that experience, which tries to get them to the next stage of your marketing funnel. So, if you don't know that, it's very difficult to go, right, we're going to hit them with a message at X, Y, Z, because you just don't know that. And yeah, understand this is probably the biggest one for me, understand the effectiveness of marketing efforts. So, everybody wants to, if you can spend £1 and you can get £10 back, everybody wants to do that. But to be able to do that effectively and confidently, you need to be measuring, how people are interacting, what the conversion rates are on that kind of effort. So if you know how much money you've put in and how much money you've got out, you're far more confident to go back in and double down. So, if you're selling, whatever you're selling, whether you're getting leads or e-commerce sales, if you are tracking how effective that marketing spend is returning revenue, then it's a critical component to the extent it's like, well, if you can't measure it, don't spend the money getting traffic in the first place, because you're just guessing otherwise. And then we can make some data-driven decisions to drive success. So if we know, for example, that XYZ channels are driving traffic for us, or where we've suddenly seen new referrers coming into Google Analytics. So that's other websites which drive traffic at our website. Then, we can go and find more of that traffic or engage with that partner and say, look, you're driving us traffic already. Do you want to drive us more traffic and monetize that relationship? So you wouldn't see that otherwise. And then spotting problems. So if this chart suddenly goes off a cliff or it drops or, whatever goes on with that trend, then, you can take action much quicker. So yeah, measuring is super important, critical, especially with websites and digital strategy. Okay, so probably first step is like a measurement strategy for your business. So you want to be thinking about what's your end game. So are we measuring sales, leads, signups, whatever the goal of your business is, you need to be thinking about, right, what's our measurement strategy going to be for that? And what are some of the key metrics that we're going to track when we're going to measure that performance? So, if we are reporting up to senior stakeholders or whatever that might be, then, if you can present this data succinctly and confidently from the data is good perspective, it just opens up way more confidence to go back in and do the same thing again. So these are some of the metrics that we probably look at. Page load times, very important. Engagement. So in Google Analytics, it's recently kind of forcing our hand to move into Google Analytics 4 from Universal Analytics, which is their old version. And the old concept was bounce rate. It's now called engagement. It's a much better metric because bounce rates relied on 2-page views happening. And, they'd say if you looked at one page and you bounced out and 9 out of 10 people bounced, that was kind of seen as a negative. It's not always a negative thing, but they changed that metric to engagement, which is a better metric. And then conversion rate. So, purchase lead form, and then other relevant metrics like shopping cart abandonment, form completion, add to basket, remove from basket. It's all of those things which we can track. So this is a concept which is not particularly widely talked about, like your measurement strategy. How are you going to measure the effectiveness of the website? So got a new best friend called ChatGPT. I know some people on the call have used it. So if it's kind of a new concept, ChatGPT is a new AI tool. So you could ask this basically, look, I want to write a measurement strategy for my sports clothing brand, include how we can use GA4 event tracking in this instance to enrich our data. So not just a standard kind of Google Analytics integration, but how could we use it specifically for our type of brand, if you like? And then I'm going to skip the next one because it didn't really answer my question properly. But I then asked it, how could we enrich our data? So what other metrics do we need to be tracking if we're running a sports brand that we could include in our analytical data to make like better decisions about that? So it came back with some quite interesting stuff. So it's saying for a sports brand, this could include details about the specific sport that person's doing. So if they're buying, I don't know, a pair of trainers, and off the back of that, well, they're using them for X, Y, and Z sports, that if you see a lot of people using a specific type of shoe for cricket, then, on your cricket section of your website, you probably want to use that shoe in your kind of merchandising to sell more of those. So ChatGPT is pretty cool. It's phenomenal anyway, but I just thought I'd try it in the context of a measurement strategy and see what it would output. So that's a potential tool in your arsenal to kind of define what that measurement strategy might be for your business. I was just saying here. So if you, at the very beginning of this, your measurement strategy, you need to invest in the right configuration, and it's it's not easy to get that as a first stab. It might cost you some money to do that, but if you do get that right quite quickly, it will pay for itself pretty quickly, because the data that you're gathering, you're going back into the market doing the same kind of stuff, but you're much more confident to do that. So it's just kind of double down on your investment. So what kind of tools are we using to do this? So we've kind of discussed Google Analytics. Not the only player in the game. You've got Adobe Analytics and also Cloudflare. So if you're using Google Analytics, that's relying on certain scripts like firing behind the scenes, and there's various tools out there which will block that from happening, because people don't want to be tracked quite often. So the browsers block you. You could have cookie blocks. There's loads of different ways that it wouldn't fire. But if you're actually using Cloudflare Analytics, this one, again, it has its advantages and disadvantages compared to Google Analytics. But on Cloudflare, for example, it's tracking before there are any cookies involved, and it's all anonymous. But you can track things like PDFs. So if you are producing like guides, like one of our clients produced an electric car guide, which got linked off, I think, Department for Transport, but they couldn't actually see on their website analytics how many people are actually looking at it. So that's where Cloudflare comes in, because it's showing every request of file coming from your system. So yeah, if you do a lot of PDFs, white papers, which are in PDF format, that's a good solution for that. And then we got visual analytics like Hotjar. So Hotjar is a screen recording tool. So when your users are browsing the website, it's essentially tracking their mouse movements around the site, seeing what they're clicking on. And, off the back of that kind of insight, you can say, right, we're getting loads of people clicking this button, which is below the fold. So the fold line is this line at the bottom of your browser before you have to scroll down. So if we can see people are clicking the button just below that, let's get that button above the fold. Let's not give them the required effort to scroll down. Sounds a bit lazy, but people don't scroll. So you need to get them into that top kind of viewport. And we got tools like Optimizely and Google Optimize. So Google Optimize is quite a good one. That helps. Well, that's basically an A/B testing tool. So that is able to show two different users, two different experiences, and you can, providing Google Analytics is set up correctly, you can say, right, well, test A performed, 50% better than test B, and you would just revert to that that better solution. And then we've got performance monitoring tools. So quite a key part of your measurement strategy is making sure that the tools which you're relying on to sell your product are actually working. So you've got tools like Pingdom and New Relic, which are tracking the kind of uptime of your website, really. So I mean, if Amazon went down for half an hour, you'd be talking, hundreds of millions of pounds probably of lost revenue, So yeah, it's pretty fundamental that you know very quickly that your site's down. So Pingdom is my go-to one. And then user feedback tools. So if you don't make it easy for people to give you feedback, there's potential missed opportunities there. So Hotjar has a little pop-up. Looks like you might see it bottom right corner here. They've got these use Hotjar, but they're not using the visual analytics side. They're using it for their questionnaires. So I think I've already answered it, so I doubt I'm going to see it again. But we'll keep an eye on that one. And then user testing. So, you can't beat having other people test your website, and especially if you can record it and see what issues they're having, then it can be quite valuable, to say the least. So Google Analytics, let me just jump. Yeah, so from a Google Analytics perspective, it's going to show you key sources of traffic, how much revenue or leads you're getting from each source of traffic. And if you start seeing new sources of traffic in this list, then you can either approach that source of traffic and say, look, we're getting sales. Can we do some kind of joint partnership? Otherwise, you're just not going to see that kind of stuff. So yeah, having a correct setup of Google Analytics is a pretty key starting point, really, from a digital business sales lead gen perspective. You could also use something like HubSpot CRM if you're using HubSpot. That's got reasonably good analytics, and it can show you where your leads have come from if it's connected to your website properly. So that's another confidence booster, because if sometimes with B2B, the lead generation time frame is pretty big. So if it's 6 to 12 months, Google Analytics, you'll get imagine this was a number one, so number of conversions or goals. You got one goal, doesn't mean they bought at that time, but they submitted a lead form that then goes into CRM and they convert to a sale 12 months later. Google Analytics has got no concept of that, and it's very difficult to report on that kind of attribution of sale or lead. So yeah, your CRM can play quite a big part in that. We got paid search there. So, we got Google paid and Bing. Obviously, if you know the conversion rates to sale, if you know how much revenue you've made from those sources, then you're just going to be much more confident to jump back in. I mean, the interesting thing about Bing is that it generally converts better than Google Analytics. There's not as much traffic around, but it generally converts better. So I think it's probably an older demographic. Some of you might see that statistic that they're converting better. Okay, so some of the common challenges around setting this up. As I say, Google Analytics, to get a default Google Analytics setup is pretty straightforward, but it's that kind of additional setup that can really add value to the business. So if you, there's a few, I suppose, in old analytics, we used to have the concept of bounce rate. And if your bounce rate was, say, 5%, so that means that 5% of people would exit your website straight away, i.e. 95% of people would go on to look at a second page view. If your bounce rate was like less than 10%, it's almost guaranteed you've got an issue with your Google Analytics integration. So there's little telltale signs in the data which can help debug kind of installation issues. This is one we've debugged in the last week or two. So they changed their cookie policy, or they changed their cookie script, and these tools are meant to block cookies before you accept. Very rare they actually do that. In the case of this one, it not only didn't block it, but it caused some issues around organic search. So when they put the new cookie one on, analytics went off a cliff. So the key stakeholders there are freaking out, going, we lost a lot of our traffic, unless there's been a Google algorithm update. So this is organic traffic specifically coming out of Google search. Unless there's been a pretty fundamental algorithm update, this kind of drop just doesn't happen, especially one that drops and then comes back up the next day. So for me, I was immediately thinking, some kind of technical issue with this integration. So what happened when we switched to the new cookie tool, basically leveled out our traffic. This is actually the traffic that we were getting. So, from a business perspective, it's not ideal, reporting at this figure when the figure is actually this. And when we come back to finding that source of truth, when you're looking at Google organic search, Search Console is normally the ultimate source of truth, but it's only the source of truth for one specific type of traffic, and that's organic search. So Search Console in this instance corroborated what we're seeing here. But yeah, any kind of wild swings like this, I always take with a pinch of salt, because it's just not normal. Sometimes if it's different types of traffic, so if this was direct traffic, and I don't know, maybe the owner of this website was on Radio 2 or some other channel which is talking about the brand, and then people go and search for it, you do see, you know, some daily spikes like that. But yeah, not like this one really, especially from organic. Yeah, I mean, Google Analytics, I'm pretty much in it every day, you know, so, well, I am in it every day. So we've got quite a few clients, and Google Analytics, Search Console. I mean, you know, I'm a data geek anyway, so I kind of geek out on this stuff, but ultimately you're trying to monitor like the trends of what's happening with your business, and you can see that visually with analytics. So, you know, it's not easy to become like data driven as a business, but once you start seeing this stuff, you can't then unsee it, and you know, can be quite addictive, you know, because you're seeing the performance of your business in real time, and you know, you can influence how you get more traffic basically to come and look at your proposition. And you know, if you are doing paid search campaigns, SEO, social media, things like that, you can see pretty much in real time the impact of those campaigns. And yeah, not taking action based on the insights. So the old Google Analytics I found was very user friendly. You could go in there, you could, you know, mine some insights pretty quickly. It's like, you know, here's mobile data, here's desktop data, and we could see the conversion rate differences between the two. If they were more than like 60% apart, it's like, yeah, we've got a mobile user experience problem. You know, we'll go in and see what we can change about mobile to be better. Google Analytics 4 is a lot different. It's not as easy to find those like quick wins like that. It requires much more of a planned measurement strategy at the beginning to know what you want to get out at the end. So yeah, it's a bit more of a data sciencey tool. That's the only way I can describe it. It's the old Google Analytics was a bit more user friendly, but this one is a different beast. But when you get it set up properly, it's, you know, 10 times the kind of insight. Okay, so then best practice. So regularly monitoring key performance metrics. So, you know, KPI reports, as I say, we work with various different types of businesses, and very few actually have a KPI report, which they could just bring up in 30 seconds and go, yeah, you know, this is how we're performing this month, last month, across X, Y, and Z metrics. Very, very rare we see that. Never mind how big or small the business. It's quite rare that you can get that. If you look in Google Analytics, so this, if there's any surfers in the room, so I run this website called Gal Live. So it's just like a surf webcam website. So we got live surf cameras on the beaches. And this one, so this is Google Analytics 4. So we can see last 30 minutes, we got 65 people. And we're doing about, you know, 3 to 7 users a minute. A couple of people from Cyprus and Slovakia in there. So I can come in here, reports. Let's see what it can generate me out of the box. Let's go explore other. Yeah, I could probably just run one of these into some date range stuff. What I'm trying to say is you can get some pretty standardized template out of Google Analytics, and you can present the information, you know, to various stakeholders pretty easily with their kind of template gallery. Whether we got segment, yeah, I mean, let's try User Explorer. What's this going to show? Nothing very exciting. Okay. Yeah, I'll take a step back on that one, but generally you can get some neat reports in there. Okay, A/B test. So if you've got a decent amount of traffic coming to your website, then you're going to be able to do split testing. It does require probably 1,000, 3,000 conversions a month to be able to train, to have statistically enough data to make that call. But A/B testing can have significant impact. So if I just show you playbook. So let's come into this one. What's it called? Yeah, this list. Okay, so I mean, this is e-commerce, but site search is a pretty fundamental component of most websites. But specifically, e-commerce is going to have the biggest impact. So on this one here, we've got site search hidden in this magnifying glass. And then the split test is adding site search that it's basically visible like that. Massive, massive impact on sales, basically, in a nutshell. So I've done this test myself with a recruitment company where they bury their search box in the corner versus having it output like this. Now, for a recruitment company, you'd expect people to search for things, but they just didn't realize how important that box was. So we had 5% usage when it's closed like this, with 20% usage when it's open like that. And I'll skip ahead here because I'll just show you that data. So visits with site search. So these are my clients. I got just giving you 3 examples. So visits with site search convert at least twice as well. And I've got a couple of clients where they're converting 5x. And they're responsible, they have a touch point on 70% of the revenue that goes through their business. Now, if you can get more people to search, they're more likely to buy, or they're more likely to find what they're looking for. Consequently, they're more likely to buy something. So yeah, this kind of A/B testing, they probably wouldn't have known had they not done that split test. So yeah, it was just a huge, revenue lifter. So 43% more usage on desktop, 13% on mobile. It's just huge. If you're putting 70% of your revenue through that search box, the smallest tweaks to that technology can be fundamental. So yeah, split test, that's a good example of an A/B test where huge numbers. Then it would be, right, well, we know this works. What's our next A/B test against this? And it may be, right, we're going to make this font bigger. So I think minimum font size on mobile is 16 pixels. So I don't know, that looks more like a 14 to me. So we beef that to 16, see what impact that had, and then just keep refining that until we're like, yeah, we've pretty much got our best version of that. What else we got? Page load times. You can see that inside. Not actually looked at speed reports in here yet. Not sure I can get that in this one, but I'll grab it from my old website. We've got a pretty big international following with our lives. We've got a lot of expats that want to just see the beach when they're down in Australia, believe it or not. So they come looking. So we need to make sure that the website performs well internationally. So we can see things like, if you've got international clients, this is a pretty fundamental thing that you need to check. And so what's the performance like across different countries? So I made a change recently. We'll come on to that. So our average load time is 8.7 seconds, which is actually 3 times slower than it should be. That's probably a bit slower than the average website is, but still, that's believe it or not, it's not that bad. So we can see in America, we got average load time's 3 seconds, UK 8.74. So this website runs primarily off display advertising. So that's how we make our revenue through there. So we've kind of got to sacrifice load time for revenue because it needs to pay for itself to stream the webcams and things. So I'm willing to take a hit on load time because I know it's a super engaged audience. If you're an e-commerce and you're selling internationally, that is a killer. So, you need to look at the performance by country of your application, product, service, or whatever it is, because that can be killing it. And also, I think it's about to change, but Google's robot is looking from the States. So, we're okay. But if your website is particularly slow coming out of, or for international clients like America, so Googlebot, that could be having an impact on your SEO as well. So interesting stat. I'm going to dig into that later because that's shouldn't be that bad, but it's pretty bad. But I have made some quite big changes to that recently. And again, if I trend that over a couple of years, you can tell I don't spend much time in analytics on this one particularly. But so this is the beauty of having analytics. So even if you're not particularly analytical, if you invest in that measurement strategy up front, data geeks like me can come in and have a look at it and trend this over time. So we can go, okay, well, yeah, you had a new website in, here we go. So whatever change I made in September, yeah, so I know what that change was. That has basically doubled my load time. So we were 2 or 3 seconds. And then bang, September. So I'm not checking it often enough, obviously. But yeah, my load time has gone up, it's doubled it. If that was e-commerce, that's probably having a massive impact on your conversion rate. You're probably talking, you're losing 20% of sales there. So believe it or not, if Amazon slow down their infrastructure by 100 milliseconds, it costs them 1% of their profit. So I am slowing this down by, 6 seconds. So yeah, you can see my average server response time here has gone from about 0.2, which is what it should be, 0.2, 0.3. That's what Google's wanting, to like 1.5 seconds. So the reason that's happened is because we were debugging some stuff a couple of months ago and I turned the caching off. So it's much, much slower. Yeah, I didn't plan on demoing this, but that was a very good example of why you need to look at your analytics. So user feedback to identify areas for improvement. Hotjar is really good at getting that feedback. So some kind of tool where, see if it'll do it. I don't think it's going to pop up on this one. So for example, if somebody was coming down this funnel, so let's say my user journey for this website, this is a lead generation website, so they're trying to get people to lease or buy. If I maybe even hovered over that button but didn't interact with it, Hotjar could be listening out for that interaction and say, okay, he's not clicked the button, we're going to hit him with a message, why did he not inquire about a lease today? Yeah, bit scary, but that's what you can do. That's the kind of tactical questioning you can bring in at key moments based on the stuff that you measure. Yeah, so because it may be genuinely interested, he might have gone, oh, I hovered over the button and this message popped up, and then on mobile the car disappeared, or I don't know, there was something wrong with it, the button didn't work. Well, if you don't know that, that could just stay there forever. So okay, so funnels. I think we just had somebody new join, but it's hi Lou. So we've got tracking funnels or tracking and analyzing funnels. So when we move users through a journey, we have different steps that they take. So if you're checking out on a website, you're going to go through add to basket, your cart, so a summary of what you're going to buy. Then you're going to go through to, right, here's my contact information, here's my shipping data, here's my payment method. You might get a page saying, processing, and then you get a page which says checkout complete. So we can track all that with a funnel. And the benefit of seeing this visually is that you can see the drop off. So we had 43 people come in on this one and get to the cart page, but only 27 proceeded through to the contact information. So that red is, you're effectively leaving money on the table there. So what was it about that page that caused those people to drop off? So that's where visual analytics can come in and say, okay, well, let's have a look at how they're interacting with that page. What was it that caused them to move? Was the button not clear? Did they have to scroll down to see like the next button, which is getting them through to the next phase? That's a common one, that there's no call to action above the fold. So there's no kind of next step guide for the customer or the user to click on. As humans, we need to be led through the process. So give them something to click on, especially above the fold. So when I say the fold or the viewport, it's the bit of the website that you can see when you load it up. So if we look at this one, reload this. Okay, so they're not the right colors. Yeah, so they need to do some work on the colors here, but that's an example of next steps. It's like, yeah, I'm interested in this, right, I can watch a video, call to action, lease, buy. If that was buried down here, might never see it. Yeah. So you can set these up pretty easily in Google Analytics. If you're on Shopify or WooCommerce or something like that, and you enable, I think it's enhanced e-commerce in here, if you enable that one, then you can see the funnel by default. So it'll actually give you the funnel steps. Where is it? Yeah, I haven't got enhanced e-commerce on this one. We do sell like hoodies and things like that, but it's not, we haven't got it. I'm going to open this one up because I'll just show you something on that in a sec. So yeah, this, if you've got key drop off, so you might find that we get a load of people through to payment method, and then it's like, oh, we only take PayPal. Well, a lot of people assume that you need to have a PayPal account to use PayPal. But when you actually click through, you can use your credit card. But that just messaging, that whole like pay with PayPal, you can see quite a big spike in people exiting at this point. 91% from this stage. Yeah, it's pretty good. You might want to look at your cart page. This could be pretty innocent. This could be people just going back and adding more products or reviewing the products that they've got in their basket. It's very difficult to see that in analytics, that particular experience. So you might want to visualize that with Hotjar. What else we got? And yeah, A/B tests. So this website's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 pages, give or take, there as part of that experience. Whereas, I don't know, can you get all that information on one page? So you might have some load time issues between these pages, which is causing problems. How can you kind of refine that process down to be much quicker? So, you don't make people think is the term. It's like make it as easy as possible to get out from wherever they start. If they want to buy something, you just make it very easy for them to take the next step. Kind of touched on site search. And yeah, the crux of it are get a good configuration. So get analytics set up, make sure it's recording, and then, measure what's going on, learn from that experience, and then just repeat, that's the best way to make it keep working. You've just got to keep test, learn, or test, measure, learn. Those are 2 of kind of the key tools that you can use to do that. forgot to put Hotjar in here. So Hotjar is a visual analytics version. Yeah, I think that's about it. I'll, don't underestimate what you're going to be able to do with ChatGPT. I'm banging on about this a lot at the moment, but it's next level, it's a next level business tool that people are going to start to do or to use. So yeah, I think we're done. Any questions? Quite happy to jump into some specifics if you want to have a look around.
If no one else is going, I'll go. I've just moved, just moved over July this year, moved over to GA4. Okay. Currently haven't imported the data from my Universal Analytics to GA4. Okay. Do you have any recommendations? Obviously the marketing agency I'm working with is currently researching best way, but if you've got a recommendation, that'd be great.
No, in a nutshell, it's just, I don't know. It's very difficult to get any GA4 knowledge. I'm finding it difficult. I'm just kind of cobbling my way through as a platform at the moment, and it's such a fundamental platform that we need to know. It's the learning curve is like, it's very steep. I won't beat around the bush with it. It's compared to the old Google Analytics, it's very it's not as intuitive, but once you're in there and it's kind of you start to see what kind of potential it's got, it's next level. But it's it's that whole measurement strategy. This is not a thing at the moment. The measurement strategy setup for a lot of businesses is still in its infancy, really.
Okay.
I kind of get Google Analytics 4, they're planning for that to become much more of a thing, but it doesn't make it any easier.
No, but no, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. That's good. I don't have any other questions.
Okay. You there, Lisa?
I am, yes. We've overloaded with information. As always, though, if you think of anything that you wish you'd ask Lee, then just get in touch with either myself or Lee. We've got our final session in this series tomorrow, same time, same place. So I think most of you are booked on there. If you're not and you'd like to be, just check out the events on Eventbrite, and you can join on as well. Or if you have any trouble finding it, just give me a message and I'll get that sorted for you. Any problems, questions, queries afterwards, let us know. Please look out for those AG3s. So it is really important that we get those back. And I guess, Lee, if you want to send over your slides, then I can send those out as well to anyone who needs them, providing, obviously, that they filled in their AG3s for me. So thanks, Lee, for that. Thanks for joining us. I'll see some of you tomorrow. I'll just say Christmas jumpers are optional. I'm not going to make you wear them if you don't want to wear them. But Sean's really excited. I know you are about getting.
Oh no. I don't think I've actually got one, to be fair.
Haven't you? I'll have to have a look and buy one now. Come on.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks very much. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Take care.